least. Joining us now is someone who has spoke with Representative Hortman often, many times, Fox 9 political analyst Blois Olson. Blois, it hasn't quite sunk in for a lot of us. It's still, disbelief, but just your reaction. I know you speak with Representative Hortman frequently.
Yeah, I've known Representative Hortman for 20
Welcome back to Fox 9 Morning News. This photo, if you can join me in taking a look at your screen, was shared yesterday by the House DFL caucus. It's potentially one of the last known images showing Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark. A live photo was taken Friday night at the Humphrey Mondale dinner at the Minneapolis Hilton. It was meant to be a celebration of the end of the legislative session, attended by roughly 1,000 people, organized by the DFL party. The couple you see there, smiling beautifully for the camera, were tragically killed just hours later in their Brooklyn Park home. Heartbreaking, to say the very least. Joining us now is someone who spoke with Representative Hortman many times, Fox 9's Blois Olson. Blois, it hasn't quite sunk in for many of us. It still feels unreal. What's your reaction? I know you knew Representative Hortman well. Blois Olson, yes, I've known Representative Hortman for 20 years, since her very first term. We met, got to know each other, and as I've reflected on
and illustrate what a family affair public service is. And then just finally, I would just say that we cannot lose sight of the sacrifice this is. We have to be mindful of this. And the one smirk I've had is that Speaker Emeritus Hortman had one of the driest, straightforward senses of humor that you would ever get. And I had her on my radio show last Sunday, and she texted me after with a couple of quips that were meant to, make sure I knew what was important in the interview, but also reminding me that I wasn't always on the right.
In all of this, so many thoughts have come to mind. I want to highlight something for viewers. These individuals serve the public just as police officers or members of the military do. Public service is not just a job, it's a family commitment. One touching story I heard just last night was that the Hortman son recently got engaged, and he proposed on the House floor. He's in his 20s, and the Capitol had become such a part of their family life. When he was young, he used to visit his mom there. So, he chose to propose there, and it was Melissa who orchestrated the whole moment. That story perfectly illustrates how deeply public service was woven into their lives. We must not lose sight of that sacrifice. One moment that brought a smile to my face was remembering Speaker Emeritus Hortman's dry, straightforward sense of humor. I had her on my radio show last Sunday. Afterward, she texted me a few witty remarks, partly to remind me what was important in the interview, but also to let me know I didn't always ask the perfect questions. Anchor, that's exactly it. You and I both know, it's a privilege to speak with these leaders and occasionally see the human side of their lives, when they share those personal nuggets. As for her political career and the legacy she leaves behind, can you reflect on that for us? Blois Olson, absolutely.
To take from it is, even in the divided legislature, even when things got heated, she had a calm, very stoic demeanor to her that should be admired and modeled by leaders going forward.
And to that
She was the longest-serving speaker in Minnesota history. Look at the 2023 session, navigating a divided caucus, managing a tied legislature. She handled it all with grace. Just last Sunday, I had her and Minority Leader DeMuth on my show. I ended the interview by asking, "What have you learned about each other that's not political?" They talked about clothes, gardening, the things that make us human. Melissa Hortman should be remembered as a giant. As influential in this state as any governor, perhaps more than some members of Congress or even U.S. senators. And despite political divisions, she remained calm and stoic. That composure should be admired and emulated by leaders.
Next year, there's the potential for a special session, and so I think there will be a special election. I think the governor will take his time in calling it, and obviously that will be itself a somber moment too, because no one chose to not be represented by Melissa Hortman other than this killer.
Yeah. All right. Blois, thank you. We appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Going forward. Anchor, to that point, it's still early. The manhunt continues, and the grieving process is only beginning. We know there will be funerals for both her and her husband. But eventually, the state will have to look ahead to what comes next. What happens now politically? Blois Olson, at some point, there will be a special election to fill her seat. It's part of the process. There's another legislative session next year, And possibly a special session before then. I believe the governor will take his time before calling that special election. And even when that moment comes, it will be somber. Because no one ever imagined not being represented by Melissa Hortman, except through